call the meeting to order. Welcome to the November 21st meeting of the Town of Lee Select Board. First order of business, approval of two sets of minutes. First one for the meeting of November 7th.
No. Isn't it the 21st and 28th?
21st and 28th. Yeah, the top, that's
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
Right, okay, fine, 21st and the 28th, right.
Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we approve the open session minutes for November 21st and November 28th.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on. Let's see, we have a public hearing on the application for a new license to store flammables from Superior Plus Propane Storage Flammables at 1160 Pleasant Street. We'll hear from the applicants.
Sure.
You can just come up and introduce yourself. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. I'm Jason Wild. I'm the regional manager for Superior Plus Propane. Thank you for taking the time and listening to our request. We submitted an application for license ultimately to store 3 delivery trucks on the location 1160 Pleasant Street. The property owner is a customer of ours. It works out and it's convenient for us to use that property. Security fencing, all those items are in place. We're basically looking for some new areas to centralize our drivers, kind of organize where they're going to start and stop. This property, and mainly Bobby Piccolo was one of those that was all on board and said, hey, how can I help? So I said, before we go any further, we need to do it the right way, go in through this application. I reached out to Chief Brown and told him the situation, and he gave me the forms to fill out, so that's what we submitted. I also have a little diagram here for the board, kind of where the property is, and the red shaded area is where we want to park the vehicles. Spoke to Mr. Piccolo on the phone. He said he really doesn't have a preference where we park. I just kind of chose an area that would be the most secure, away from any type of activity. The thing I would add is we'll put some Jersey barriers or some crash protection along the fence line, so in case something would come off of the road, off of Pleasant Street, we'd put those behind the trucks. What we're trying to do is just get a spot where we can locate our drivers. They'll park their personal vehicles, start and end with the delivery trucks at that location. As we were reviewing today also, seeing that Mr. Piccolo is a customer, there is a storage tank on that property for their use. They fill tanks. So there's a fill station there, 1,000-gallon fill station. I did not include that on that application. So
Would you like to?
I would love to. So I just filled out a form, or a letter explaining the reason that we are trying to amend it, and then an application to amend it to that as well.
Sure.
So
Oops, sorry.
it's strictly just the trucks. There's no real
Just amendment.
desire or motive to bring any other equipment in there. It is strictly a spot where our drivers can start and stop for the day. All the trucks adhere to all DOT regulations. The tanks and everything, that equipment that is on those trucks, they're inspected daily and tested and inspected annually as well. So any issues that or concerns you might have, it's probably one of the most safe vehicles out there right now.
So where are you actually out of? Like, where do they go back to refill and all that? Not that it matters to this, but
Yep.
for general interest.
So we have a bulk plant that does most of our
Sorry.
volume is in Stockbridge.
Okay,
We look at roughly 2,800 customers in the South County between Lee and Stockbridge. I mean, it all kind of feeds off each other, so
Sure.
it's still convenient enough yet for our drivers to start and end here, go reload, and then continue on with the day. So Stockbridge, the other location is in Chester, and then we go further north for the North Counties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have
Any
anything
questions?
that the chief would like to have? How do you feel about this, chief?
Ryan Brown, Fire Chief, Town of Lee. As long as the amendment, I don't know what the number is,
12.
12, I'm perfectly comfortable with it. I think it's like you said, the bobtail style truck is probably one of the safest trucks on the road. The real reason it's before the board is I'm a permitting authority and I can only permit storage up to 1,999 gallons. Anything over 2,000 must be licensed through the board, so that's why I pushed it up to you guys. But I support this. I think it's doable, it's feasible. I'm okay.
Comfortable, okay. Any other safety issues you have concerned other than the Jersey barriers that they've talked about? Are you okay with just staff
I
on the
saw a
road?
sketch. I
Yep.
mean, all we're really required is to have it in the fence line. If they want to go above and beyond with some
Okay.
crash protection, that I'm fine with that.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Any other discussion?
I only have a question about the time frame. This is a temporary permit, and do you guys have a plan? Is there a period of time that you're thinking that you're gonna, I think here it's noted that you'll probably look year to year to sort of at revisiting this issue. So I'm just like, maybe you can give us a time frame just so we have that.
Yeah, so the original thought process is multifaceted in different ways, to give you an exact timeline, not
Sure,
quite sure, but
yeah.
we're looking, somewhere from 6 months to maybe a year. This application need to be renewed in April. So if it was approved tonight, we'd go through it again in April, and we'd have a much better idea at that time.
Right?
So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
So I have another question, just to make sure that if we make a motion, we do this correctly. The application, if we move this, is it actually a license for the landowner? So that would be Tom Tubance, who exactly is going to be the owner of this license? I'm just trying to make sure. Meadow Farms?
Yeah, so the.
Okay,
the
not you
license
guys.
Would be displayed at Meadow Farms property.
Okay, and who,
We would be doing the applying, the renewal. It really, that form specifically doesn't specify who it is, it just specifies the property.
so we're just approving it for the property?
Yeah, so we're
Which is
just looking
116.
at a storage at
Yep,
that location.
okay,
If I
1160.
may offer a point of
Yes,
order.
sure.
So the
Thank you.
licensing would be particular to parcel and property,
Just that?
with a DBA potentially as Superior Plus Propane. But the license would always be attached to the property, not necessarily the business, if that makes sense. The permit would be per business, but that's much smaller quantities.
Yeah, right, gotcha.
So the license would be attached to the
To
property
the
itself.
property. All right, I just want to make sure that if we're making a motion, that we do it properly, otherwise you're held up and, we don't have to do this more than one time. So we can do that, all right? I don't have any other questions. I can.
Nothing else?
If you're ready.
We have a motion?
If there's anybody from the public that's
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
here.
anybody from the public have any comments, questions? Hearing none?
No hands on line.
No.
Okay, I'd make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to grant a license for up to 12,000 US gallons of LP gas to 1160 Pleasant Street in Lee, Mass. Is that enough?
I'd second that motion.
Is there any further discussion?
Just to clarify the motion, it's until April.
It's an automatic renewal.
Oh, okay, very good.
In
All right.
case we would have to reapply or renew,
Sure.
not reapply, renew.
So a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay,
Very good.
yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Now, is this an all sign or a chair sign? Doesn't really matter, I guess.
I didn't see that.
Not just a single, so I guess it would be you. Just
Okay.
checking.
Very good.
I don't think it needs to be part of the motion.
Yeah, it would be the chair.
Moving on to public comment. Have any public comment from anybody online, on Zoom? Any public comment from the room? No. All I have was, we were asked to make an announcement on the part of the Lee Youth Commission, Kathy Hall, that the Lee Youth Commission's second Saturday Kids Obstacle Course Racing will be this Saturday night, December 9th, from 5:30 to 7 at the Crossway Tower Gym. So if the kids don't have anything to do on Saturday night, now they have something to do. So again, the Lee Youth Commission at the Crossway Tower Gym from 5:30 to 7, the Kids Obstacle Course Racing. And also they're postponing the setting up of the skating rink because of the warm weather. So there will be no setup for Saturday morning, and they'll be rescheduling. We'll hear from them. If there's no more public comment, moving on to general business. First, the Rest of the River attorney-client privilege records release.
For discussion, I suppose, I would move that the Lee Select Board endorse the release of all attorney-client privileges, privileged records for the Housatonic Rest of River Municipal Committee.
I'll second that.
Okay, any just further discussion?
You don't want to explain?
Well, I'll explain, yeah. These are minutes that have been, that haven't been released to date. We've been going at this for more than 4 years. The announcement of the agreement was in February of 2020. There have been meetings that went on long before that, for more than a decade. And it's all been withheld from the public. And I've personally been a proponent of releasing them for some time now. But now that there is absolutely no litigation going on, it's time that the public understand how we got here in regard to the Rest of the River Agreement, how it was crafted, how it was formed, how it was arrived at. The public has been clamoring for an explanation, or at least a better understanding of how we got here, and that's what we're talking about. We really want people to understand how it happened, where we are, in order to better advise us as to where we should be going.
Perhaps we also should mention that this is a vote that each of the 5 towns' boards of selectmen need to make, and we strongly encourage all of the boards to pass a resolution to allow this disclosure of these particular minutes between the committee and the attorney, since I don't see any reason why they would want to keep it from the public. So we're hoping that they will concur with what we've done tonight and follow suit and make the same motion.
Very good.
Yeah, I think that at this point, all the litigation's over, and ultimately the Rest of River Committee is going to dissolve or not renew, really.
In 2 days, it'll be
So-
decided, yeah.
Done deal.
So, yeah, it seems like the right time to take this step.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion?
Anything online?
Anything online? No.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
That's great. And then next, a follow-up discussion on the PCB transport meeting that was held at the Lee High School on November 28th, last week. I just wanted to say that I thought it was very productive, enlightening, actually. It was very interesting to hear GE's presentation, whatever one's opinion might be about it, might be about that. But there seems to be a clamoring now. It's now in the papers or in the press that the other towns are now taking a look at this rail versus trucks. Finally, almost 4 years later, because, and quite frankly, my personal belief is the only reason we're hearing from those other towns now is not through any shortfall on the part of the public, and the public has been kept in the dark for years now. They're finally realizing the full impact of this stuff being transported through our towns. Great Barrington's in because all of a sudden they realize that Housatonic, they're going to be coming through Housatonic. They're going to be going in front of the Red Lion Inn. They're going in front of, over Walker Street in Lenox. They want to come down Main Street in Lee. By the way, these are all addresses, routes that were not mentioned specifically at that meeting because they refer to them as state highways and route this and route that. It's coming down our streets if this thing goes through. So I'm very encouraged that the other towns are willing to have a conversation about it. And I guess I would like to ask this board to write a letter to the EPA and ask them, actually tell them that we want to know about the negotiations or the talks that they say they want to have with Housatonic Railroad.
Yeah.
Or the state of Massachusetts, or any of the interested parties that will talk about rail transport, sidings, building new sidings, how this can affect removal of this waste from the river, how it's going to affect the possibility of a UDF in Lee. This is all information that should be available to the public. We've gotten in so deep, with the troubles that we're facing today are because there hasn't been transparency. All this has been done behind closed doors. Let's see that ends now. So I think that I'm hoping that we agreed that we can reach out to the EPA and make that possible.
In addition to that, Bob, if I may,
Yes.
they did ask for the letter after that meeting from the railroad.
Yes.
Which was provided to them, and they were also told then that if they have meetings, we want, with the railroad,
Sure.
A, we want a meeting, and B, we want to be part of it.
Right.
So to follow up with a
Right.
letter would be good.
I agree.
Could we craft one for our next meeting, or do we want to do it before then? Refresh my memory too, what's the time frame for this transportation proposal? The GE has to still submit to the EPA, then they approve it, and then there's a comment period, is that sort of?
Comments till February 1st.
So there's comments, so they haven't submitted their final draft yet?
Yeah, so they submitted a draft, that's the plan, the
Yep.
one that they showed the other night. It's got comments till February 1st.
Gotcha.
At that point, EPA can come back and ask for changes. They could approve it the way it is, they could send them right back to the drawing board, we don't,
So we have an opportunity to comment, and the public does, until February 28th? Or
February
February
1st.
February 1st, sorry.
Yeah.
Beginning of February, not the end of
Yeah.
February, okay.
I mean, if the board would, if you want to sign it as a board, we can do that at the next meeting. If you want to authorize me to send it, we can do it right away, we can do that sooner, or up to you
I think
guys.
as long as we get to read it, and, I don't want to just, I'd like to see what it's going to say to make sure it's all encompassing, and that not that you can't write a good letter, you can, and it could go out under you, but I think as long as we get a chance to voice in on whatever, before it goes out.
Yeah, happy to do it either way, but yeah, I can draft something and then.
And also say that I think it's, we want to do things in a timely fashion, and we can endeavor to meet all these deadlines, but this is more than deadlines, and this is more than mandatory time frames. This is something that's going to affect the health and safety of everybody in the river corridor, and, we just have to be persistent, relentless in making sure that the people in the various towns are represented in such a way that, that we're clear about exactly what it is we want.
Well, I think also we may need to meet again to really have a more open discussion on us with the report in front of us to see what other alternatives we may wish to offer. In my head, I was probably going way overboard in my thoughts, but if they are going to have these trucks on all our streets, especially if they come down Lee and to Main Street, I'm thinking, okay, they should have signs on the sides of these trucks that say PCB, contaminated soil, courtesy of GE, right on the door and on the back end of the trucks, let them be known. And then maybe if they ever decide to come down our Main Street, I think we ought to ask them to have GE pay for a detail police cruiser that goes in front of it and one in back of it with their lights on, and just to clear people out of the way, and maybe it'd be that much safer to get it where it's going. But I think the signage and draw attention to it. They've tried to keep this thing on the back burner for so long. Let's draw attention to what they're doing. If they want to come down our Main Street, then everybody should know every time it comes down, and they can get away from it. So those are just some of the first ideas I had. So anyway, something to mull over.
It is something to mull over, and isn't it interesting that we haven't been able to mull over it for the last 4 years?
Yeah, no kidding.
Because, this agreement was signed off on by the towns with no idea of what the transportation plan was going to be. It certainly was never going to be, they weren't going to levitate this stuff. They're not going to use helicopters, but they weren't willing to discuss it.
Jesus, don't bring that up. We don't want helicopters. That'd be even worse, Bob.
It costs too much money.
Well, that's true, yeah, they're never gonna spend another penny, so we don't have to worry about helicopter.
Yeah. But, no, thank you, that would be, that's great.
Just something to think about,
And Chris, can we bring up the meeting with the managers and the administrators and the?
Yes, so been approached by the town of Lenox through their town manager, myself and Lee, and then Great Barrington and Stockbridge and Sheffield, looking at a joint letter from all 5 towns, which will come back to this board to be signed. We hope to have that maybe by the next meeting. We'll get a draft to everyone, the final draft to everyone beforehand, but that's basically a letter saying that all 5 towns are encouraging and asking the EPA to put a greater emphasis on rail transportation. It won't go into specific, it should be limited here and there, but that we need to look more at rail.
Right.
I think it's interesting that finally, it took, I think, our public to raise the alarm and our board for having these meetings to get these other town boards to wake up and see what's going on, and to get their people to wake up and hold their boards accountable, which they have not been accountable.
Well, and again, largely because the public has been denied the information with excuses about litigation and, listen, and I'm just speaking personally now, I understand mediation. We do mediation all the time when it comes to certain legal procedures. I understand mediation. What I don't understand is when the very people that put us into office are denied that information, and major decisions like a toxic waste dump are denied to the public as a whole. That is just about as anti-democratic a process as I can imagine. So, any further discussion on the transport, or?
I don't have anything to add at this point, but I think it sounds like a good direction. Things are still happening. People can comment.
I was glad to see people from other towns show up at our meeting was open to the public, not to Lee residents, but to the public, and it was really thought it was great that we had people from other towns show up, and even a couple of board members from other towns, but that was, you know, it's too bad we didn't have every board member from every town there.
Well, we're getting
But
there.
that's good, yep,
We're
we're gonna get people to the table, which is a wonderful thing.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, Sean. Any further discussion on this topic? All right, moving on, any topic the chairman could not reasonably anticipate. I don't have anything, do you? Sean, Gordon?
I do not.
All right, then moving on, Chris, special town meeting or anything else you might have?
Yeah, I did have one other quick thing as well, that I just wanted to share, that the towns of Lee and Egremont were awarded Community Development Fund grant for $1.5 million for housing rehabilitation for the residents in the town. So those applications, or actually pre-applications, are available on the Berkshire Community Development website right now. But that will be for zero interest, deferred forgivable loans for critical repairs to homes. And there's some eligibility requirements for it, but we've got 150 pre-applicants already from Lee. So just wanted to share that good news. So,
Thank you.
That's great.
and then the town meeting, of course, is tomorrow, 7 PM at the high school auditorium. I just wanted to just take a second to go through the process. It is obviously an open town meeting. There will be a check-in with our poll pads, the same check-in we use for voting. So any registered voter of the town of Lee will check in. They'll receive a little printout saying that they were registered for the town meeting, and they will get a voter card and a clicker on a lanyard. I know we had a little issue with them at the last meeting. We used them in a representative town meeting very successfully. We had a little glitch. We worked with the company to get that fixed. But the plan will be that the votes will go to a voice vote first. If it's a unanimous or very close to unanimous, the moderator can call that. But if there's need for division of the assembly to get an exact count, if it's too close for the moderator to call, we will put up on the screen all of the numbers of every clicker. They'll be anonymous. You'll know what your number is, but it's not assigned to a particular person. It's they're randomly assigned, just so that you can verify when you hit the button, your number lights up, you voted, and then when the vote is closed, your number will either be turned from blue to red or green to say your vote was put in as yes or no. But again, it's anonymous unless you give somebody that number and say, tell everybody I'm clicker 125 or whatever. The only other thing, of course, if we do have any issues, by bylaw, we go to a standing vote after that. Or if we exceed the number of people, which we have 365 clickers, if we run out, we have to go obviously to a standing vote at that point. So,
Okay.
but that'll be the process. There's 9 articles on the warrant, and we're looking forward to tomorrow night. So,
Yeah, and just remember, if you have not read all the articles, they are on our website, town website. You can go and brush up on it if you've not gone to any of the meetings in the meantime, to understand where we're going with all this.
oh, thank you for mentioning that, Gordon. And I do want to just also say the feasibility study for public safety is on the website, as well as a summary. So some of the articles are written very legally, but there's a summary that kind of explains things in a little more plain English too. So,
Will there be a handout for the summary there? also?
yeah, the summary
Okay.
and the warrant will be available.
Great, thank you.
We try to we try to anticipate how many copies. If we run out, there is a QR code you can scan on your smartphone, and it will bring you to an electric version of both of them. So.
And CTSV will be there tomorrow night? And
Good.
will it be a live broadcast, or? Do you know?
Yeah, I believe they said live.
Yeah, so you can watch it on TV, and it will not be Zoom now.
Right, just,
Right,
yeah,
okay.
it'll be live.
You can't vote remotely, though. You
Can't
have to be
vote
in
remotely.
person.
Yeah, you have to be
Yeah.
in person. Good point,
Yeah.
Sean.
Okay, anything else, Chris?
That's all for me.
Okay, well, our next regular meeting will be December 19th. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Chief Brown has
Oh,
something.
sorry.
That's okay, I just, I missed the public comment time. I just wanted to remind our Board of Selectmen, as the traditional parade of lights that has been going on since COVID started. This year it will begin in Sheffield and in Lennox, and it will be coming through town on this Saturday evening.
Oh,
Great.
I think if they start in Sheffield at 5, it should be hitting downtown and somewhere in between 6:30 and 7:15.
Great.
That's the closest I'll give you for odds.
So, and there'll be lights and sirens, right? So people,
You'll hear them
yeah,
before
yeah.
you see them.
Well, as long as people don't think there's some major catastrophe going on Saturday.